Personally, I think that we should stop arguing over whether or not to take the Sabbath and just take it anyway. Genesis 2:3. So God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it God rested from all his work that he had done in creation. Exodus 28, the fourth commandment. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, you or your son or your daughter, male servant, female servant, livestock, blah, 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 blah. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. It is what God did, and we are a reflection of him, therefore we should follow what he did. It's a commandment. Like, it's up there with don't kill and lie and steal your neighbor's wife. In Exodus 31:16, it's called a lasting covenant. Not a short one, not a temporary one, a lasting covenant. But what about the new covenant? Jesus completely fulfilled the old covenant. We don't have to take the Sabbath anymore because Jesus is our Sabbath, or because he did it for us, and we don't have to do that Old Testament stuff anymore. The switch to the new covenant does not negate Old Covenant law. It just changes the terms. Humans are imperfect and are incapable of keeping the Ten Commandments and being perfect 100% of the time. They're incapable of choosing God over sin 100% of the time. So Jesus existed, God came down so that Jesus could fulfill that for us, could be perfect. And so we believe in him and we become like him. So the law moves from being works-based to being put on the minds and the hearts of the church, of God's people. But faith without works is dead. So when you begin to have faith, and when Christ comes into your life and the new law is put on your heart and on your mind, you are naturally going to follow God's laws and commandments. The law becomes internalized for you. And so we're all on different parts of our faith walk and our journey. Not every single person, the second that they are born again or come to Christ or whatever, is going to be like, oh, fresh out of the bath, now I'm gonna go take the Sabbath, right? It might be a process of pruning and sanctification and becoming more like Christ for you to get there. But to say that the Sabbath isn't holy or it doesn't exist or we don't have to do it anymore is laziness, and it's not biblically grounded whatsoever. In the Old Covenant, we had to do works and perform certain ceremonies in order to be saved. In the New Covenant, when we are saved, those works and rituals that we should be doing, rituals is a weird word, but those performances that we should be doing, like taking the Sabbath, right? Not murdering people, are put on our hearts, because as we become more like Christ and more like God, more in alignment with God through Christ, we begin to internalize these laws. So it's one thing to just be a new believer and to maybe be a little ignorant on what the Sabbath is or why it's important. And it's another to be well into faith or religion and to have a good idea and a good understanding of the argument and continue to actively choose not to practice and observe the Sabbath. In Luke 4, we see that Jesus 2 different times observes the Sabbath. In Acts 13, 17, and 18, we see the apostles observing the Sabbath. Matthew 24:20, pray that your flight will not take place in winter or on the Sabbath. Speaking about events that have not yet happened. So saying post-resurrection or post-crucifixion, right, when Jesus is no longer actually physically here in the flesh, make sure that your flight isn't on the Sabbath, because he's insinuating that you're still observing the Sabbath. Mark 2:27, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. We are gifted the Sabbath from God. We are gifted this gift of being able to rest and to take time with him and to be blessed and to be nourished in that time. Isaiah 58:13, if you turn back your foot from the Sabbath, from doing your pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight and the holy day of the Lord honorable, if you honor it, not going your own ways, this is important, or seeking your own pleasure, or talking idly, then you shall take delight in the Lord. You shall take delight in the Lord if you honor the holy day. And I will make you ride on the heights of the earth. I will feed you with the heritage of Jacob your father, for the mouth of the Lord has spoken. The mouth of the Lord has spoken. The word is final, and it is fixed, and it is perfect. I know this is Old Testament prophecy, but I love this quote from Isaiah because it shows how the Sabbath was designed specifically with humans in mind, like the quote from Mark says. Because think about human beings, right? What do we do on Saturdays? Well, we work all week, and then come Friday night, to Saturday night, right? We're going out, we're drinking, we're hooking up, we're doing whatever we're doing because we are gratifying our flesh because we earned it, right? We deserve to go be social and hang out with whoever we want and drink whatever we want and party however long we want to because we just worked our 9 to 5 and you know, this is my rest. You think the all-knowing God didn't know that this is what we're going to do? That the most vulnerable day of the week, the 7th day, after all the work is done and we're tired and whatever, that we wouldn't have the pride in us, the pride to say we deserve to do what we want to do to gratify our flesh because look how hard we've worked? You think God didn't know that that would be the direction of our thoughts and our hearts at the end of the week? It is not a coincidence that the day the Lord made holy and wants you to rest in Him, to glorify Him, is also the day where humans want to glorify their flesh the most and gratify their flesh the most. I actually just watched a video. His name is William Pope. He's wonderful on YouTube. He mentioned Chick-fil-A. And I don't even remember where that was coming from, but I was thinking about the Sabbath this morning, and I was like, Chick-fil-A, didn't Chick-fil-A as a company get a lot of like popularity when they said that they were closing on Sundays, right? We're not even going to go into why Sunday is not the Sabbath and why it was changed by the Roman Catholic Church in very unbiblical ways that they admitted were unbiblical. That's a whole nother thing. But think about Chick-fil-A and how they decided that they were going to take Sunday off to respect Christianity, I guess, right? Except if they were really grounded biblically, they would have took the Sabbath off, right? They would have closed all of their stores on Saturday, but why didn't they do that? Well, it's probably because one, the Sabbath, I guess, is less respected, but also two, Saturday's a big day for businesses, right? Saturday's a big day where they probably get a lot of families and a lot of kids who are out of school and parents bringing their kids there after baseball games and whatever, and so they're not going to take off on a day where they're maybe getting the majority of their income. And so whether it's a big corporation or it's you in your individual life, you're communicating to God that He is not more important than profit, that He is not more important than gratifying your flesh, that He is not more important than the world. The first thing that you should do when you finish working and you start resting is resting in the Lord before you rest in the world. That's why the first thing Jesus did when He woke up every morning was He spent time with the Lord. That's how He started every single day. The Lord literally built it into our week because He knew the second these people get a minute to themselves, they're going to start being prideful and sinful, and I need them to know that it is important that they come to me first before they go to the world. Not that they enjoy their Friday night and then their Saturday night and then they wake up hungover on Sunday and they get dressed up all nice and they look good on the outside and they go to church and they have their mass or their service or their whatever and they spend an hour with me, right? But they're half asleep because they were out till 4 a.m. and then they come home and they watch football and they just do a bunch of more stuff to gratify their flesh and binge watch that show that they were missing and then they go to work again on Monday. I'm not going to get in the Roman Catholic Church debate with anybody. I know though people will be debating me, but it's demonic. It's demonic. It's just demonic. It's anti-Christ. It's literally just anti what Christ is. It is putting religion above God instead of making sure that everything is subject to God, because religion is man-made. God is not. God is above it. Christ is above it. And Christ is the rock, and He is what the church is built upon. And so it makes a lot of sense that a church would want to switch the Sabbath of all days, of all commandments, right? We're going to switch the Sabbath because it's easy. It's a little thing that we can tweak, and it might seem like nothing. If anything, it might seem great, right? Because we're honoring Him on Sunday and we're honoring Him on the day that He was crucified or whatever, resurrected. And what it really is doing is it's making all the members of the church gratify themselves on Saturday before glorifying in the Lord. It is making sure that people put the world before God. And the church has just paved the way for that, for so many people who could be enjoying and relishing in the love of God before they relish in the flesh. So then there remains a Sabbath rest for the people of God, for whoever has entered God's rest has also rested from his works as God did from his. We are to resemble God, to be more godly. I don't know what the problem is. We should take the Sabbath. Therefore, while the promise of entering his rest still stands, let us fear lest any of you should seem to have failed to reach it. For good news came to us just as to them, but the message they heard did not benefit them. The message the people who did not take rest heard did not benefit them, because they were not united by faith with those who listened. Let us strive, therefore, to enter that rest, so that no one may fall by the same sort of disobedience. For the word of God is living and active, sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing to the division of soul and of spirit, of joints and of marrow, and discerning the thoughts and intentions of the heart. Your intentions of the heart. Do you intend to be like Christ, or do you intend to find loopholes and places where you can be sloth and silly and messy and Jesus got it, so I don't have to do it? No creature is hidden from his sight, but all are naked and exposed to the eyes of him who we must give account. John 14:15, if you love me, keep my commandments. John 14:21, whoever has my commands and keeps them is the one who loves me. John 14:23, anyone who loves me will obey my teaching. Anyone who does not love me will not obey my teaching. John 15:10, if you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. Just like Jesus is keeping the commandments, we have to keep the commandments to abide in the love of Christ. Matthew 19:16, Jesus was asked how to get eternal life, and he said, if you want to enter life, keep the commandments. If there's a brand new believer right before end times, right, and they don't keep the commandments, that doesn't mean that they aren't saved. You might not have to keep all the commandments in order to be saved, but keeping them is the good fruit produced that proves your salvation. If we are to just believe that we're saved and then do nothing, our faith is dead. So do something. I don't know. Love you. Good night.